Welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. Hello, T1 is back. Welcome, Heaven Fire. Hope you all had a nice day. So, yes, my day was fine. Nice that you had a nice one as well. New skin. And the character slots are down. So, if you need more characters, now is the time to get more slots. Yes, currently I'm playing the Sage Amulet build. I'm still a little bit experimenting which relic is good here, because there are so many options for this build. It's actually crazy. I really like that. I think not a lot of builds currently have that luxury. Yeah, I think it's smart. I think, of course, if you saw my account previously, I have a lot of character slots, but even if you don't go for that many, I think character slots are a really good option to just get more value from the game. If you don't have a class, if you need a character to store something, if you need a character for another game mode because you don't want to invest too much into back slots and more equipment templates, for example, I think it's quite a very good value you get for this amount of gems. And like I said, if you don't have a character for every class, you're missing out. This game is really easy to play alternative characters, so I would always have at least 9 character slots. I think that's really important. Yes, and I think that's a very good point there. You miss out as well on some fashion stuff, because I say a lot of characters from different races can be really nice and fashionable, and you would really miss out on something that is maybe more your style, you know? You don't have to play a human all the time. You can go for something more exciting. Yeah, so I was talking about the build. So I think Relic of Rivers is incredibly strong. So even after the nerfs that you get only half the duration of Alacrity, it's still very good on an Elementalist, because Alacrity improves all your attacks and you have so many on an Elementalist. And second of all, and that's actually quite interesting, you're playing Sage, so you get healing power. Therefore your regen is more potent. And what you can't forget is, every time you dodge, you get regen. And every time you get regen with this build, you remove a condition. That makes this build incredibly strong against Condi appliers. You are almost immune to conditions because you have so many cleanses that it's actually not even fair. When you push into a Condi Necromancer, they think they can apply chill to you and therefore easily kill you. But it's not the case. Getting flamed by our teammates for playing this build. That's really fun. Yeah, I think that's really strong. It depends on the setup, you know. This might not be the way where you can actually play it. But let's see, we have I will now go for support just to troll this person. No, because he was complaining that I played the Signet build and not the support variant. Now I play the support variant because it makes sense on this map. But T1, don't forget, it's not only that you have so many cleanses with that, but the alacrity as well helps a lot with the cleansing and the sustain, because you get the skills that you need, the defensive skills, more frequently. And that helps a lot. So now we are playing support. We have to be really careful. This map is really, really good for support. We have a really big team fight in the middle and probably on the bell as well later. We have quite a decent comp for fighting with support. Let's see if we can make it work. That's a... Yeah, I'm really surprised. I did not expect you can die that fast. You have to be really careful here. Okay. Okay, they get this guy. I have to go into... Oh, they get the rally probably. No, they don't. Perfect. Worth it. Yeah, just live as a support and ranked. My team is just going in. I can't support them perfectly and they die right, left and right. I did not play that very well in terms of kiting, but I could not have rest this guy. This was insane how aggressive they played, and I could not go for any kind of support when you go in like that. Yeah, I think, don't get me wrong, I did not play that very well, but this was unavoidable. If you go in against 4 people as a willbender and try to kill them, that will not work most of the time. Especially if they have 2 willbenders. Just mathematically you will get more damage than you will deal. So this is a really boring match. You can see when we have a team that can make use out of a support, it's actually, you don't even have to play perfectly. Sometimes you can just win the match anyway. I mean, this guy is dying left and right. Maybe it's my fault, but I have to be honest. I think that they are so fast. It's really hard to help them sustain. Okay. I will go far now. Maybe we get the rest. No, we don't. Have so much damage. I tried to die on point here because It's too much damage. Maybe we can get the kill here, actually. Yeah, we get the kill.
The dock's been captured.
Nice. At the res. We should get the kill here. Okay. Okay, we have a DC. That's not good. Might still be losable with the DC, to be honest. See, I can't even keep them alive when I'm on them. It's actually quite impressive. Yeah, that's too much damage. Simply too much damage. I think they are back, so it might be fine. Let's see. After this match, I will start a giveaway. I have some prizes received that I have to give away. One of my viewers sent me some gold to give away. So if you're here, thanks for that. Otherwise, we will do a giveaway in steps. So be sure to stick around to receive 100 gold or so. Easy win. 4v5 win. What can you say? So, giveaway is up. Just type exclamation mark ticket in the chat. Perfect, you're in. And we will draw the winner whenever it's time. Oh, I'm full. So this was a quite boring match. Not a good showcase of the build, to be honest. Welcome Boon King as well. Hope you had a nice day. So annoying that you can't buy more laurels at once. It'd be really nice. Just for saving some clicks. Yeah, as always, if you're a new player or veteran and have any questions, I try to answer them. Be sure to ask anything that is on your mind. I'm really excited about the news coming up with the next few days, hopefully. Not only regarding Guild Wars 2 patch schedules and also the balance patches, or the next balance patch that is supposed to happen in February. I think we will get a preview for that really soon. But I'm also quite excited if they would really announce a Guild Wars 3, because there are quite some rumors out there right now. Nothing is confirmed yet, but it seems rather likely that there will be a Guild Wars 3. So when it comes to what's currently going on, is we know that there is an NCSoft leak. Sometimes some months ago there was a leak by NCSoft, the publisher of Guild Wars 2, that there is a Guild Wars 3 in the making. It's not confirmed by ArenaNet or anything, but that's a weird thing to say as a publisher if there is nothing behind that. And the second thing that I find really interesting is that with the latest content updates, and especially with the last 2 expansions, you could see that there is a change in how much content they put out. At least in my opinion, they try to still satisfy the community in terms of content and quality, but it feels like there is less in the whole package. Yeah. And that's really interesting for me, because it seems like a part of ArenaNet is working on something else. And if that's really Guild Wars 3, I would be really interested to see if it's completely a different game or if it's somewhat close to the game. If it's not even an MMO, it might be an RPG, it might be completely different, it might be a card game. I think a card game is something different that they are developing, not Guild Wars 3, but you never know. Yeah, Boon King, I'm actually really hoping that the biggest thing that they will address in the next balance patch are 2 things. So the first thing is making some elite specs that are completely underused or not even used at all in all game modes, like Weaver, playable again. Because I think they need some heavy reworks. And the next thing that I would say that is way more likely is that they rework the spears in a sense that they are not completely busted or not usable at all. So I think it's cool to have a new weapon that every class can use, yes, but I think it's not good if every single class in every game mode uses spear because it's the best option. For, let's say, for example, the Guardian Spear, also the Revenant Spear, they are so oppressive, there is no other option. You would be really stupid to not take it. And I think that's not a good design. It should be good on some builds, but not broken on any build that you choose. Yes, you're right, if you're playing support Revenant, then it's not good. But I'm talking about offensive condition builds or something. It makes sense that it's good there, but I think it should not be permanently run in every game mode for every spear. So what do we have here? I think it, Heavenfire, don't get me wrong, I think it makes sense when the expansion comes out to make something that is really good, that people buy the expansion and you really like to play the OP stuff when it comes out. But I think it's really important to also nudge it down a bit after some time to make the old stuff work again as well, or at least to some extent. And then you can decide if you keep the balance or the power creep to a minimum, or if you want to slightly increase it with each expansion. But right now they did not nerf anything, in my opinion. It was just some hotfixes. Yeah, sure, I'm always happy to do good content. No problem, fams. But I don't know, it depends a bit. Yeah, welcome Archnehme. Yeah, I think Boon King, you might be right there, actually. That they might really keep it as it is and try to increase it. There is no vertical progression in Guild Wars 2, but with each year there will be added new stuff in combat new balancing, and it will always be better than last year, so that if you are not buying the new expansion, you're missing out on something. I think that might be something that they would do to get more money. I think that makes sense. I'm good. Hope you're good as well, Artneme. So let's see. We are up against... This is really a core revenant. That's interesting, to say the least. No, it's not a core revenant. Okay, it's an herald. We have 2 willbenders. It's again the guy that dies so fast. Really careful then. Yeah, core revenant is one of the worst specs. I think you clearly see with core revenant that it was never designed to be played as a core class, because you always had herald. And he's dead again. Completely dead. Yeah, I have to concentrate here a bit because I think our willbender will go down soon. Maybe it's our temple. Okay, it's... Welcome, Susano, welcome. Yeah, so I think I'm dead. Yeah, I got the thing. Had to play it safe here because I thought my team might lose the fight when I don't rally here, but they actually win. So I think it's nice. Very nice. Get some healing to my guys. So Core Revenant was never designed in a way that you play it alone. I think they even added the F2 skill after it was released. So you can clearly see that Herald was always the go-to option. You never had an option to go for Core Revenant and it would make sense. And that's just sad. Also, the trade lines don't really interact with each other that well. So you would just lose out most of the time. This guy is really... That's insane. He's always dead. I mean, I get it if you're a new player and willbender might be really squishy, but this is insane. I think they are playing so aggressive and you can't really play the class. It seems it's crazy actually. So we should go here for the contest on the waterfall. Why? What? Please? I don't get it. Yeah, willbender is so squishy, especially if you don't have F3 up. And it seems like this guy is always engaging with F3 and instantly dying after it runs out. So... That was a sweet emote actually. Didn't matter in the end, I fear. They completely cleaned us up here because my team is completely overcommitting and we should never go for the rest of this guy. It's just not possible. Yeah, said that I died off point here, so I'm completely useless. And I won't reach the point either, so I have to die here. That's not a spot where you want to be, especially not as a support. Because your team will now feed in mid as well, again, I guess. They are here against 2 versus 2. I think that might be fine for now. Our guard is pushing close. That's an interesting take. Be sure to enter the giveaway. Did he just killed one in a 2v3? I guess I take it back. This guy does a lot of damage. But I would never play as aggressive, you know. If you can survive on a willbender, it's actually like a necromancer. You deal so much damage that if you don't die, most of the time you win the match. Just straight up. So I would rather have a quite defensive playing Willbender than I have one that always engages into 3 people. Yes, playing, I think a Willbender that goes or pushes into a 101 is a big problem. The reason for that is that you can't really, if you can't kill one person in a fair fight in the first 2-3 seconds, it's very likely that you will not win the fight at all. And therefore, you're just not a 101 build. It's straight up not what you're doing. And therefore, it's really important that you can just outnumber a person. A player in your team. Oh, hopefully, that's a good choice to do so. The kill, please. Nice. Yeah, looks good. Very nice. So my advice is for all people that play PvP, know what your role is. So if you're a Willbender, you are a roamer. And that is especially important in a Willbender, but all roamers don't go into 101s. 101s are not something that you really want to push into as a roamer, because you're not made for that role, and most of the time you will straight up lose to real 101 builds. It was a really good dodge. CC would probably have killed me here. So 101 builds in PvP are actually quite diverse, I would say, at least in ranked. So typically you can, Elementalist is really strong right now, so either Dagger, Hammer Catalyst, or Sage Tempest. Those 3 are the Elementalist specs. For other classes, I would say you can actually play, if you are decent at it, Condition Revenant with Spear is actually a decent 101 build if you have an interesting or semi-solid relic choice. It makes sense. But Warrior is always a good start. I mean, it makes sense. Warrior is made for that role. And yeah, maybe some DH build that is a little bit just annoying people. That would also work. And of course, Ranger can also work. I think Ranger and Warrior are the classes that are always somewhat decent at a dueling role. So those 2 specs will always work. Either Spellbreaker, Druid, Untamed, all of those make sense. But like I said, Elementalist is currently in a really good spot, so I would say Elementalist is probably the way to go. I can't help this guy, it's actually insane. Another one dies here. It's not working. It's just not working. They are running here in. I can't support them. What are they doing? Please, guys. It actually worked out in the end because they got the kill here, or the rest here. Interesting, really interesting. Be sure to enter the giveaway. Exclamation mark ticket in the chat. You have to be a follower to win. Subscribers get bubble luck. Everything else is fair. So we are going for 100 gold giveaway. Thanks to It's Q. Hello Harp, welcome. I'm doing good. So far the ranked PvP matches are actually quite decent. We have a Willbane that is actually at 10 deaths right now, so it's actually impressive. Yes, that's also what I really dislike about support, is that you can't play as a carry. You always have to make the decision with your team. If your team makes a bad decision, you have to stick to it. That's just how it works. You see, I now go for the decap here because my team is dying mid. That's not something you would normally do as a support, but it's a ranked game, and if I don't do it, we will lose for sure. So now we get a fight here, so I forced, so to say, the fight on my close node, which makes sense. But if this guy doesn't push in here, we actually might lose the map for that. So it was a smart move by the enemy here. Because it's actually quite interesting. So we have a bad spot here. We are 30 points ahead, not even. And let's see. This guy is almost dead. Okay, I got the EMAP. Got the rest, that's good at least. I got the cap on 2 nodes. We got a kill. Maybe we get the decap far. It's a really close match, it's actually insane. I have to help this guy. That was a decent wall, for sure. Oh, they got the decap. Yeah, but... Oh, that's so close. It's actually intense. Okay, maybe we get the kill here. Should go for the stomp, and when we get the decap it should be fine. No, we don't. Yeah, we get, okay, that's fine. Nice, very clutch. Very close game. Yeah, gaming at work, that's how you do it. I know that. It worked out in the end, but it was not smart. My team was pushing into fights that they should not have pushed the whole match. It was actually quite intense, definitely. Yeah, if you have any questions, be sure to ask. And if you're a new player, be sure to check out my new class guide that I just uploaded on my YouTube channel. I put a lot of effort into that video. I hope you can notice that and appreciate it. I think that there's a lot of very interesting stuff for a new player in this video. But I guess most of you are not new players, so you probably know all of that already. Yeah, so I was talking about Guild Wars 3. So I think that if ArenaNet is really working on Guild Wars 3 right now, they would do so the first 1, 2, maybe 3 years without telling anybody and trying to just take a part of their crew, of their employees, and let them work on the new game while trying to make the old game still very active, to get enough money to pay for the expenses they have. And as soon as they are in a state where they can say, okay, this is looking as it would get somewhere, then they could announce that they are working on it. And I think they might be forced to do so very soon, because there are a lot of somewhat rumors, leaks out there. NCSoft employees, like I said, talked about it, but also apparently one of the musician guys was talking about that he worked on a project that is supposed to get into early access somewhat soon. So in the next year or so, which is really interesting because I never expected to be an early access Guild Wars 3 maybe, I don't know. It's really interesting. If that's the case, I'm pretty hyped about it, but it might also be a game that is definitely not for me. Yes, definitely. It might be a horrible flop for them if they just invest a lot of time in them in the new game, especially if it's with a lot of staff that is not experienced. That's true. But if it's the old staff working on Guild Wars 2 normally, and then they just work on the same, let's say, idea, why not? It could work. Thanks for the follow, Katja. Welcome to the stream. So let's see, what do we have here? So on this map, I don't really like to play a slow build because it's such a big map. You have a lot of objectives. Do we have a side noting build? Not really. Not really. Tempest might be an option here. Ah, that's interesting. That's an interesting match for sure. I might have to play another Tempest match. Because if I go Willbender here, my team might simply die. Because they're really squishy. This guy is playing full condition word without any defense, I would say. And I know this one here plays also quite offensive most of the time, so it's interesting. Let's see how it goes. So really hope that when Guild Wars 3 ever comes out, and it's really a game that I would enjoy playing, that it's working. Because if ArenaNet puts so much effort in it, it might be a big problem if it doesn't work out. If it doesn't work out, then I would say Guild Wars 2 might be doomed as well. Because they put so much effort into it. Which is really sad, because I think Guild Wars 2 is a good game still after all these years. And yeah, okay, this is a power word apparently. Should go on this. It's a support Tempest. Okay, so we have support against support. Focus this one. Okay, we have nice damage here. We sustain quite well. And I think we get the Tempest here. The Renegade, I meant. Soul Beast is quite pressured. I have to heal them, but I'm on a bad spot. Maybe I get the res. I think I get it. Yeah, very nice. Welcome, Cryptic. Welcome to the stream. This is the heavy target here. I'm not sure if I can support them here. Was a decent wall. Some of them had stability, but in the end it worked out, I think. There's still so many people on there. Ooh. How many? Please counter pressure someone. I can't keep that up forever. Yeah, I think that's not gonna work. He gets the glyph. So we have to kill someone again. I don't have glyph, that's a bit risky. I think we got another kill, that's good. Probably that will be secured. Thief in a teamfight is so bad. This guy does no damage on anything. So if you always go for 2 points, that should be 2 nodes, that should actually be really good. Okay, we get a kill here. It's such a close man. Yes, yes, Harp, we are still recruiting. Just send me an in-game message, either whisper or mail. I can add you to the guild. Welcome, Saint, welcome. Oh, they got the rest. I did not notice. Should always watch the map and not look at chat. Sorry. Sorry, team. I guess we get the next kill again as well. Yeah, very good. So do they go for sword buff? Yes, don't forget to enter the giveaway. You have to be a follower to win. Exclamation mark ticket in the chat. You get a chance of winning 100 gold. Subscribers get double luck. But other than that, it's quite fair. 3 cap again. Interesting. Okay. So I guess we go far and help our team there. Thanks for the follow. Super juicy. Go for the static field. Go for the emob. It has 100% life. Nice, got the water cliff here. I mean, worked out pretty well, I would say, to push far here. The Necromancer is pushing mid here. So my team should go there and help me contest that, because I'm not the first one to go there, but okay. Please. Yeah, sure, please ask questions whenever you have them. Thanks for the follow, by the way, Cryptic. So my team should really help me here because I'm in a bad spot, but I think 2 people are coming. That's good. And we got a kill. That was a lot of damage. Okay, let's see. I think our ranger might have a problem against the Necromancer. I have to help them. Yeah, now we get the kill. Normally you should actually not lose that, I think. Welcome, Galen Bale. As a Condi Soul Beast, you should probably not win, not lose the matchup. But it's quite dependent on if the Necromancer gets the transfer. So this evening is actually quite, support is quite working. Very nice. Yeah, I think Guild Wars 2, it's really hard to rate it in contrast to other MMOs, I would say. Because Guild Wars 2 has some really, really good parts of it. For example, the open world, the world versus world, the combat. But if you are looking for some really high-level content and dungeons and that experience, I would say it's not as good as other MMOs. So I think to make a review for Guild Wars 2, you would really have to make a big, just different parts in the review where you say, okay, for this kind of player, yeah, I would give this rating. And I would say just making one rating for the whole game, that's just simply too much to ask. I think that's not possible. And therefore, saying in the internet that you have 4 out of 4, 4.4 out of 5 as a rating, I think that might sum it up for most people, yes. But it's hard if you are a really raid enjoyer. I would say Guild Wars 2 raids are cool, but it's probably not enough for the long term to keep you satisfied. So it's really interesting. So we have a question here from YouTube. Which class is good to just roam around, do ruins, supply camps, and just have fun and not really go into big fights, escape them when needed? I would say the best build for that is either some kind of Daredevil build, some really fast, not really outnumbered type of playstyle, just a fast Daredevil or some bursty, maybe even Willbender works. Has a really good clear speed for camps and is just it's just really good as well if you want to need a lot of mobility to disengage. So I would say I have a build guide on my YouTube channel about the Willbender, where I also talk about how you play it. So be sure to check that out. I think that's a build that you might like. And you don't have to be that good. You actually deal so much damage that it can actually carry you to make it work. And I think Scrapper, like Heavenfire actually mentions here, might work as well. It plays similar. It might be a bit harder because you don't have teleport. So if someone is teleporting on you, you might have to disengage with super speed, and that might be quite hard if you get emobbed or something. But in the end, it plays very similar. Yeah, I think it's a good build as well. I mean, there are so many options. I would say you have to narrow it down, apparently, I would say a little bit to make maybe say which class you want to play. But it doesn't matter. I think Willbender is a good one, Scrapper is a good one. Yeah, those three made a lot of sense. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, I think Guild Wars 2 caters to a lot of casual people, and therefore it might attract those kind of people. But if you like the combat, and I think the combat is really hardcore friendly, because it's so, you can min-max so much in Guild Wars 2 in terms of combat, how you play and how you just take your opponents down, how you can outclass them, outskill them. So I would say in bare minimum at Guild Wars is, if you just really condense it on the combat and the game itself, I would say it's quite hardcore viable. But not a lot of people actually play it that hardcore, and that's why there is no real hardcore community, and therefore there is no content in there. Thanks for the follow, Stutter. Yeah, I think when it comes to, there are a lot of problems when it comes to legendaries. I think legendaries are just a gold sink, and there is no real story behind them, except for 4 really big exceptions, which are Estolaria, Nevermore, Hope, and Jukan Champawat. Those are really good, in my opinion, because they have some kind of collection attached to them which tells a storyline. Yes, it's not perfect, but it's way better. Really, worlds apart from the other legendaries. Definitely. Yeah, I'm doing good. Hope you all are doing good as well. Welcome to the stream, Stutter. Don't forget to enter the giveaway, !ticket in the chat. You have to be a follower to win. Subscribers get double luck. Yeah, I think Guild Wars 2 in its early days was designed as a PvP game, which is really, really interesting. And I think nowadays it's more like an open world game, open world RPG game. It doesn't have any incentive to go really hard into the combat and understand how it works and stuff, because you don't really need to. You always have enough people that are somewhat helping you, and you don't really care if you play perfectly or not. So that's just how it is, I guess. Yeah, it worked. It's just !ticket and you're in. That's how it works. Just didn't want to get the chat spammed with a lot of messages. That's why there's no confirmation. Yeah, I totally agree. I think Guild Wars 2, I also wanted to make a video about it, because I think Guild Wars 2 is such a unique MMO. It doesn't have any gear grind attached to it. And therefore, it might seem as if people that get to level 80 played through the game. There is nothing that they can do anymore. But in my opinion, the game starts there. And that's really interesting, because yeah, it's just like a sandbox game. Yeah, you have to set your own goals to find something to grind towards to, you know. Find it really interesting. Yeah, I think... So, 1 second. Welcome to the guild. Yeah, so I think setting yourself challenges to make something work, to go for a new goal like a legendary or some new back slots, a new character, or maybe even carry a solo event, solo a boss, a champion, maybe even a fractal or dungeon. That's really interesting. But you have to understand that you have to set your own goals for that. There's nothing that can help you with that, because no one in Guild Wars 2 will tell you, or nothing in Guild Wars 2 from the game itself will tell you, do this to get satisfaction, because that's not how it's gonna work. That's interesting, and that's why it's so different from other MMOs, I would say. Other MMOs typically tell you, okay, you don't have the perfect item level, so you should go do this dungeon to go for the next item, and then do this and this. So you're really guided. Yes. I mean, that's Boon King, exactly like that. I did put that sentence a little bit rephrased, but this sentence, that level 80 exotic is the beginning, in one of my recent guides or just videos about how I feel what mistakes are new people making. And that you typically say the end game or the game Guild Wars 2 begins if you reach level 80 after a few hours. And someone in the comments wrote a whole really, really long comment, I don't know, maybe 50 lines or something, about how wrong I am, and that this is the really bad statement to make, that ascended gear is no one achieves that, and it's the goal to get level 80 is way more typical that people only do that, and that's it. I find it really interesting, because for me, I think to reach level 80, it's really easy. You do that in a few hours. And after that, you have the whole game open to you. But this guy said no, reaching level 80 is the whole way. Really interesting. Yeah, I think if you check the DPS in meta events, it's actually insane how much people, or how little people actually know about which builds and which DPS they can do. Oftentimes you are in a 50 player squad and you do a top DPS with 30% of the whole squad's damage. That's insane to me. And that's the important part. It's actually, it's not only about running the builds that are correct. If you do just auto tech on a full berserker build, most of the time you deal more damage than the players in open world. So it might not be the gear. It's also just people are just randomly pressing buttons or doing skills that are not necessary to do so. Just insane to me. Yeah, I think Guild Wars 2 has a lot of stuff that you could actually enjoy after reaching level 80. And I think if you just go for the exploration and just check out different stuff, world versus world, fractals, raids, PvP, all of that stuff, you have so much stuff to do that's actually really, really great. And even as a veteran, there is so much still for me to do. But if you are not in that kind of sandboxy mind, then you might have really big problems to just enjoy the game, because you don't really get the carrot all the time. You don't see the number of your gear to go up. Oh, now I get more vitality, or I got more toughness to make it even more tankier than before. That's just not how it works. After some time, you have the maximum. Yeah, I mean... No, I won't read that. I'm a friendly person. I will not say that. Yeah, I think fractals and dungeons are some really nice but different kind of first-person content. I just, in my opinion, it's quite sad that they did never expand the dungeon system, that there is not something that is really for the speedrunning or the people that enjoy dungeons in that sense, because you could skip stuff. In Fractals, it's really hard to skip a lot of stuff because it's so linear. In dungeons, it's way more, you have to decide which path to take sometimes, and it's not that easy to see clearly, okay, you have to kill this guy and to get to this one. I think that's really cool, but they decided to go with the Fractals, and I think that's really cool that you have a casual environment. And I will release a video, a slight teaser here, where I also mention dungeons, and it's really fun how much gold you can actually make with dungeons. It's actually insane. So please take a guess how much gold you can make per hour with dungeons. Yeah, that's interesting. I think not a lot of you actually know how much you can actually make with that, because it's insane. It's really crazy. It's really, really good. Yeah, so we typically you guess around 10 gold, maybe 10 to 15 gold or something. But like Boom King mentions, there is some kind of repetition reward, of course, but you get a lot of those Tales of Dungeon Delving, which is the currency that you, how is it? I think it's called like that. Somewhere buried here, this one. Tales of Dungeon Delving, yeah, exactly. If you use this effectively, you can make so much gold. It's real. It's really, if you do a full dungeon tour, which means all the 33 explorable paths, which I agree might take a while if you are not experienced, but if you're experienced, you can do that really fast. And you get 110 gold. 110 gold. And if you do it fast, that nets you around 70 gold per hour. That's true. It's true. People do that. I saw it on stream. 70 gold per hour. And people don't know about it. It's one of the oldest content in the game. And it gives you so much gold. It's insane. It's really insane. People just don't know about it. And I agree, Galen, that some paths are quite hard for people that don't know how to do it. But with the current power creep, there is actually not a single path that is actually hard if you know what you're doing. And I don't talk about being really hardcore at it, you know. You just have to understand how this mechanic works. Yeah. And if you do it once or twice, you are completely free. It's so easy. So it's actually insane how much gold people just miss if they don't do dungeons, and maybe would even enjoy them. That's the important part. Because so many people think, oh, I have to do this open world meta to get gold. But in the end, it's not true. You can make a lot of gold just by doing instance content if you really want to. Even more at that. It's crazy. But like I said, it's not something that everyone likes, because they are somewhat outdated. I get that. That's true. And for me, they are still fun, but it's not for everyone. I totally get that. What is he playing? He's applying Torment to me, but is still playing a power build with Greatsword. Very interesting. Yes, I mentioned that, Nivi, comment from YouTube here, that the highest gold farming game is the credit card farm. I mentioned that in one of my recent videos as well. And people got so angry at me. It's actually insane. I did not expect it because they just did not want to, just listen to that. I was really surprised because it was not a hot take or anything. I think people, it's just objectively true, but people just don't want to hear it, I guess. This guy has a lot of Conti cleanses. Now there are 2. That's mean. Sad. Yeah, I mean, it's true. If you make enough money to make a living from it in real life, to just live and spend some money on Guild Wars 2, it's more effective than spending hours in the game most of the time. It's just true. Not a lot of people actually like to hear that. Yeah, I think a lot of people always have goals to go for. In Guild Wars 2, it's just balanced around making gold most of the time because most rewards cost gold. So a lot of people in game just want to play the game and get enough gold to buy all the stuff, the shiny skins that they want. But I totally agree. I think if you just play the stuff that you enjoy, if you like World versus World, just play World versus World, and you will get money, and you don't have to farm for it. Yes, it might take a little bit longer than if you would do the optimal farm, but in the end, it's more fun. So I think it's always important to go for stuff that you really enjoy and that's fun to you, and then in the end, you will get the goal anyway. Welcome, Filthy Cashew, welcome. I think that's a good thing, Heaven Fire, to focus on account-bound stuff, because that's the stuff that I needed the most when I was going for a lot of gold farms, because I had enough gold, but I did not have enough of the account-bound stuff. So I nowadays just do stuff that I like and get a lot of account-bound currency and whatever. And that, when I need gold, I go for some gold farms, but most of the time I have enough gold. Lucky he got away. I think they actually fixed that problem quite well, to be honest. I think there are not that many gold farming bots around anymore. There are still some, don't get me wrong, but most of them they actually fixed and banned them from the game. So a lot of people, especially in my chat, I get the impression, seeing that the ranked rewards are so good, and holy shit, you get so much liquid gold, just raw gold from playing the game mode. But you also have to take into account that it takes hours to get there. Yes, it might be liquid, but in the end, playing, for example, T4 fractals will get you more liquid gold than playing ranked for 1 hour, for sure. So I agree, PvP gives more gold than you would maybe expect, but it's definitely less than playing any other thing for 1 hour most of the time. The only thing that really gives a lot of gold is ATs. So you see you get 25 gold for winning the daily AT plus 5 mystic coins, so in total 35 gold. If you win the monthly AT, you even get 500 gold. Of course, that's only 5 really, really good players get that, but if you're high level PvP, you get more gold, for sure. But ranked, I would say it's very deceptive. I think not a lot of people really understand that ranked gives gold, but it's not as good as you would expect, for sure. Thanks for the follow, Mimirex. Don't forget to enter the giveaway, !ticket in the chat. You have to be a follower to win. Subscribers get double the luck. We will draw the winner in I don't know, maybe half an hour. 100 gold giveaway. Yeah, hello, Mimi. Yeah, I'm good so far. Having a nice day. Yeah, I think it's more about the perception. So if you do a gold farm that is really boring but nets you a lot of gold, a lot of people would quit early. And if you play World vs. World and it's a lot of fun and gives you way less gold, but you play it for longer, in the end you will end up with more gold. So I think it's really important that people understand that it's not about playing the game optimally, but having fun at it, and in the end you will reach your goals. Of course, there are some people, for example like me, they like to optimize, and then it's fun to optimize, and I might enjoy something boring just because I like to optimize it. But not everyone is like that. Exclamation mark enter in the chat to enter the giveaway. Exclamation mark ticket, sorry. So this guy, I wanted to concentrate here for a bit. There's a lot of damage. Now he's dead. Is he playing a PvE build or something? Exclamation mark ticket in the chat. Yes, correctly. Yeah, I think that's a good take as well. Maybe I get the rally here. That's nice. Yeah, exactly. So if you wake up at 7 AM just the meta event, that seems crazy. But I did that. I was actually, to farm the open world legendary armor, I was doing every single day the Soto meta events, which was really, really boring. I don't like them, but I really like to optimize my gameplay, and that's why I did it. It's fun to me, but I think it's fun to say if someone mentions that and you tell them, yeah, I actually played Guild Wars 2 casually, but I set my alarm to do stuff. That's interesting. Yeah, for sure. Yes, that's the same. Yeah, exactly the same. Soto meta events. Yes. So I was thinking about doing a guide about this build, but after some testing, I think this build is not as good as I really hoped it would be. Maybe I can make it work, but the Condi cleanse on this build is really, really weak. Which is a big problem. I really don't like playing World vs. World with no Condi cleanses, or very few. Because World vs. World is really nasty with Celestial and Trailblazer gear potentially. So I think we should win against this Catalyst because we have so much Condi application. Typically a Catalyst can't handle that, depending on if it's with the Diamond Skin trade. Yeah. Was close actually. Did not expect it. But you have to play Dagger Dagger. Dagger Dagger will definitely lose this. I will lose to Dagger Dagger for sure. Yeah, I think that's the best part about Guild Wars 2 is the open world meta events are really, really good. I think a lot of people enjoy that about Guild Wars 2. And that's really important. because I think that's a unique feature of Guild Wars 2 that not a lot of other games can deliver on, at least not that well. So I would definitely say that the feeling of an open world to go for a really big dragon fight, for example, as a 50, maybe even 60, 70 people squad, that's insane. Thanks for the follow on the page. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Yeah, I would say if you have a routine and doing all the meta events that you like and that you need for some event, for some currency or whatever you need them for, I think it's fine. The important thing is to find a routine to make them work. I'm really happy, for example, that I did all my Dragon's End and those kind of meta events for the Oreen Legendaries, because nowadays it's actually quite hard to get into that. So some of them might be really annoying to go for. But maybe it's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong on this. Yeah, in the end, Heaven Fire, it doesn't matter if you switch your goals all the time. If you still have fun playing the game, then you will reach the goals at some point. But of course, if you want fixate on one single goal and stick to it, most of the time you're more effective like that. But it's not always true. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's if you have a daily gate or something, it might be way more beneficial to do something in tandem. Oh, not this guy again with the scepter and pistol. Such annoying. Oh, there are too many now. Yeah, I think it makes sense in my opinion. And now they are DMing me. That's good. 3 people against me. World versus world. That's how you like it. Welcome, Iota. Aotai, sorry, always butchering your name. I think it's important that you find your own style how to play Guild Wars 2, because otherwise you will not enjoy the game. The game has its problems, but it also has its strengths, and if you can find a routine, if you can find a playstyle that you and the game suits, then it's perfect. For sure. So let me see, maybe I have to switch stuff up, but I'm not sure. I think I can't get more Condi cleanses out of there. Maybe I go for shield. Welcome, Ira. Happy New Year to you too. Yeah, I did not have that many streams this year yet, but I will for sure go big this year. I also forgot to mention, we will do next week or the week after that, depending on the interests. We will do raid trainings, so whoever is into that and wants to go, be sure to be there next or the week after that. We will do raid trainings. Fully, you can completely new. Doesn't matter if you are interested in playing raids, just go for it, join the stream, and we will do some nice content there. Of course, the only requirement that I have is that you are having the meta build or something that is close to it at least, so that it makes sense. So if you're playing DPS on a full soldier gear, that's not gonna work. So please take that into account. But otherwise, sure, if you want to learn something about raids, completely fine. Yes, definitely. I think that's also what I really enjoy about the class diversity, is that, for example, in World vs. World, you have classes like Decker and Elementalist. Thanks for the follow, Trapped. Don't forget to enter with exclamation mark ticket for the giveaway. It's, of course, to all of you who are not entered yet, exclamation mark, ticket in the chat. Always forget, it changed the bot. Exclamation mark ticket, it's also in the message. You have to be a follower to win. Subscribers get double the luck. 100 gold. So, like I was saying, for example, this build is quite bad at outnumbered because you just deal condition damage around you. As soon as people can range you and you can't get to them, you will die. If you're Dagger Elementalist, we can blade it in a second. You actually are way more just strong. You have a lot of tools to make it work because you're so mobile. But for example, a Willbender is really, really good in bursting people. Even in 1-on-1s, you can actually kill them really fast. But it's really bad in outnumbered situation. Yeah. Welcome, Psychoblast. Welcome, welcome. Okay, let's wait for the tick and then swap to Elementalist. And I can show you the Dagger build that I meant for outnumbered. It's really fun. I think it's one of my favorite roaming builds right now. Just because it's so mobile, so flexible in what it can do, and it's really old school in that sense. Yeah, I think it's the thing is, in World vs. World, a lot of builds can work, but you will notice very, very fast which builds are top class because they are just a big chunk ahead of the rest of the just contenders. Yeah, that's actually good when you can 1-on-1 people that are really experienced in the game. But you also have to mention people that are rank 10,000 in World vs. World, so the maximum rank that you can get in World vs. World. That doesn't mean they are good players. Yeah, that is also the same, for example, for achievement points. If you have over 40k achievement points, a lot of people say, holy shit, that's crazy. But it doesn't mean I'm good. It just means I played the game for a long while. And that's the same for World vs. World rank. It just means that they played a lot of World vs. World, most likely some kind of Zerg play. Definitely, yeah, definitely. Congrats on that, because if you're rather new to the build or the game mode, rank 300 is not that high. So it's definitely an achievement if you can beat someone with a stat experience, for sure. But I would say that's the cool thing about Guild Wars 2. They don't have a big advantage over you. The only advantage they have is their experience. And if you just are a better player from rotations, from just the mechanics, or just maybe it's just you are faster at reacting. You can dodge the skills they can't dodge. You win. That's just fair. You don't have to spend thousands of hours training a build if you're just better at it. That's really cool. Yeah, I think that's a smart choice with the casual. I think Mesmer has so many options and you can easily switch from alacrity to quickness or something. That's really, really cool. The only thing that you have to be aware of, and that's really important actually, is that you have to switch your trait. Because for example, if you're playing, let's say, you are Guardian main, and you go into a group and they are looking for an alacrity healer. And you could play alacrity Willbender. And in the next fight, in the next group, they are looking for a quickness DPS. Then you could play Firebrand. If you do the same on a Mesmer, oftentimes you play Chrono in both situations. And that means that you just switch one trait. And if you forget to switch this trait, that often leads in the end to something that is really annoying because the people in your group will not have enough boons. So always be aware of that. Welcome, Cyclone. Welcome. So we are still not completely sure. I'm currently doing a vote in my Discord when the time slot is, either next week, so not tomorrow, the week after that on Wednesday, or the week after that. So one of those 2 weeks we will definitely do a raid training. If there is enough people or enough interest, we will go for both of them, depending how many people are interested in raid trainings. You have to type !ticket to enter the giveaway. So I hope we have 7 trainee spots, so whoever is interested in that and comes here first on that day will get it. But I think currently not that many people have signed up, so too many tickets. That's interesting. Very interesting. Let me check if you're in. Yeah, you're in. You're already in. You don't have to worry. I don't know. Maybe you tried too many times. Yeah, I think Mesmer is probably, if I would be if I'm really honest and a new player asks me which class they should pick if they don't have any preference regarding the fantasy of a class, then I would say for PvE Mesmer is currently the best. It's so good. It's so good. You have so many options, and the DPS on the offensive Chronomancer build is insane. It's really insane how much damage you can deal. And the healing build is so flexible as well. You can have almost permanent stability. I think you can get permanent stability for your team. You can make even Condi cleanses, and healing is really, really good. Not a lot of classes can actually cleanse so many conditions. It's a really good build. So I would say if you're just going for meta right now, Mesmer is the choice for PvE, definitely. Yeah, I think then we will definitely have a nice spot for that. I think if for helpers, I can find people that can help me, so that's not a big deal. So we only need 7 trainees. And it doesn't really matter which role you can play, just play something that you are comfortable at. And then we find a group and a squad for that. Yeah, I think that's a filthy casual. That's a very common thing to do. A lot of people play one build in fractals because you are not that likely to play multiple builds in fractal because you need agony to play fractals, and therefore it gets somewhat hard to make multiple characters for fractals if you are not that committed to getting more agony. And then you just go into raids with that character, and that's totally fine in my opinion. Nowadays, at least. Let's say 1 or 2 years ago, Firebrand was really, really good in fractals, but quite bad in comparison to the other healers in 10-man content. The reason for that is that Firebrand is just not a really strong healer. Nowadays it's way better because you get more page generation and it gets way easier to just help your team. But in the old days, let's say 2 years ago, it's actually not a good build. Yeah, it's actually really, I think that's really interesting design to have builds that are so niche that you can help your team convert conditions into boons. I think that is really interesting. It's not something that you typically see a lot in PvE because I think they just did not often do bosses or just fights where you have a lot of conditions. The only exceptions to that would be fractals with special instabilities. Some instabilities are really just obnoxious. And the last thing is probably the new raid boss. So Greer is really condi heavy if you get corrupted by it. So those are the big exceptions. But all the other fights, most of the time, it's not that heavy that you really need the conversion. Yeah, I think that's really interesting that you have a build like that in the game. So what is your favorite elite spec? Oh, that's a tough question. So when it comes to favorite, I would say they are swapping around all the time. So I don't have a favorite that is staying for 10 years. But when it comes to just from the design, I think Reaper is amazing. I'm really a big Reaper enjoyer. I think just from the class fantasy, I really enjoy Reaper. And from the gameplay perspective, oh, that's such a tough one. I think from the gameplay perspective, I'm a big Viva enjoyer. I think Viva is such a fun spec. It's really bad, and that's right now in all game modes, so I'm really sad about that. But I hope the next balance patch fixes that. So, yeah, let's see. A guy can dream, you know. No, I think Chronomancer, just from the design of Chronomancer, I think it's cool. But I have to be honest, I think the wells are not my favorite. I think the wells on Chronomancer are a little bit boring. I play Chronomancer in PvE that much because I really enjoy it, because currently it's so strong and I can fill every reach, I can carry a group in every single scenario. I really enjoy that. But from the class fantasy, I would say it's the F5 skill is really cool. Yeah, but the wells are not that interesting to me. They are just an AoE skill, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, I think Ranger is in a weird spot. Yeah, that's definitely right. I think Ranger is very cool, especially Druid is one of the... I put it in my defensive tier list really, really high because it's such a good build. But when it comes to DPS on Ranger, I think only Soul Beast really makes a lot of sense. The Untamed quickness build is quite good and really underrated, I would say. But I think Chronomancer just outclasses it most of the time. I think Chronomancer should get nerfed to make Untamed a little bit more viable. When it comes to a DPS Alacrity Druid, that's just not working, I would say. Therefore, yeah, I think Ranger is an interesting spot. Alacrity heal is really good, and Soul Beast DPS is good, but I think they could buff it again a bit. I think the DPS of Soul Beast is good, but it's not where it once was. And I think the unique thing that you could have such a crazy amount of burst was really cool. I like to have DPS classes have something different. Nowadays it feels like almost every single DPS class is the same. It's just a different color. But it feels like exactly the same gameplay or the same result. So I really hope that they've changed that a bit in the future. But I'm not that excited about the latest balance patches, so I'm still not sure if they really make it work in the next one. Yeah, I think actually Soul Beast from the design is definitely my favorite Ranger spec, because it's taking Ranger and saying, okay, the core mechanic is the pet, and on a Soul Beast you don't have to have the annoying AI, but you are still somewhat close to the pet, close to nature, and I think that's a lot of fun. It's not something that I would say I would regularly play just because of that, but as a DPS build, I would say it's a really good option. But to finally answer the question with the elite specs, I think that was my assumption or my take on the elite specs, which are my favorite ones. If I had to choose one single class that I only would play that class in the future, it would be for sure be Mesmer. Because I think Mesmer has so many different builds and so many different play styles, and the elite specs are also so different to play, that I would definitely go for Mesmer when it comes to one class. Because a lot of classes actually are quite known. A lot of MMOs, a lot of other RPGs have those classes. But Mesmer is quite unique. Not a lot of classes actually have RPGs have Mesmer as a class, which is really interesting, because it's a cool idea, definitely. Yeah, I think Ranger is weird. I think Ranger is weird when it comes to class fantasy, because to be honest, I think Untamed, the mechanics that you can control your pet, that should be baseline. It should be baseline that you can control your pet like that. And I think Untamed should be more exciting. There should be more exciting change on the class, other than just getting a switch skill that just changes your color, and that's it. When it comes to Druid, I think Druid is actually okay. It feels like a healer. It feels like something valid. And Soul Beast, yeah, I think Soul Beast, the sad thing about Soul Beast is that the utility skills are just not that good. wrong. They are really good for yourself, but they are not supportive. And I think they were designed in a way that they would also work as a support, which is definitely not the case right now. So I really hope they change that a bit so that Soul Beast gets a really interesting spot in the current meta play. But yeah, let's see. I think the class fantasy is not everyone is happy with that, and I totally get that for sure. I think you might be right there that Druid, when you come from other, for example, from Diablo or something like that, your Druid is a way more shapeshiftery thing. But I think it's fine to have a different name for classes. But I understand that people don't like the idea to have a soul beast that does exactly what a druid does in another game. I think that's definitely a valid criticism for sure. Yeah, I think celestial by itself means just something that is godly or something like that, divine. So it doesn't really has to be something with a soul, but I totally get that. I think the idea between why a soul beast can merge is because you get the soul from your beast, from your pet, to empower your skills. I think that's the idea. But I totally get why you would say that's not something you would expect as a soul beast. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I think it's a valid point, definitely. But I have to be honest, the naming of the elite specs is... half of them are okay, but I would say the other half is just not good. For example, Dragon Hunter is for me something that is... it's just weird. Why call a class Dragon Hunter? That's in my opinion not something that really fits. It also doesn't really fit a Guardian in my opinion. Yes, you get the longbow in the original way, but in the end it doesn't really fit. Also, Catalyst as an Elementalist is also really weird. I mean, the whole elite spec, in my opinion, is not a really good fantasy. So you get a new skill that just makes this fire or water field. It's just very interesting. I think maybe I should do a class fantasy tier list at some point. Because, for example, Catalyst I would rate quite low, because the fantasy is not that exciting. It's that much is sure. Yeah, Dragon Hunter is an interesting one. It feels like a ranger, but with some light ranger, you know, some yeah, just like the Guardian is a warrior of light. It feels like the Guardian is the Dragon Hunter is a ranger of light. Sometime, I don't know. Yeah, I think Cyclone, you're definitely right there. I think a ranger, when it comes to DPS, is just behind in PvE in a lot of situations. I know that you can make it work in some situations when it comes to really, really high level burst phases and stuff. Then it might work out if there's no breakbar and stuff because of the one wolf pack and stuff. But that's only for really try hard people, so for speedrunners and stuff. Then sometimes it can work out. But in most casual groups or somewhat casual groups of packs and stuff, then yes, you will always be outclassed by Fresh Air Tempests or Fresh Air Catalysts if you played it. Yep, that's interesting. Welcome, SX. Thanks for the follow, by the way. Oh, I think my group is dead here. They got us in the end. So let's check. I'm not sure if the mech AI is really better than the Ranger AI, Ranger Pet AI. I think the Ranger Pet AI is also not that crazy good. The mech pet, both of them are quite bad, I would say, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I think AI in Guild Wars 2 is generally bad. I think across the board. Also, for example, if you look at Elementalist summoning things or necromancer minions, they are really, really stupid sometimes. They just run around like they do nothing. That's not helping at all. Yeah, for sure. So I agree with Boon King. I think that it is a really good trait that you can swap while you merge the pets. I think that is one trait that is so strong in competitive mode, at least, that you will always take that. And I think if they would make that baseline and make the 3 traits in Grandmaster somewhat interesting for Condi builds, for a support build maybe, and for a power DPS build, I think that would make a lot of sense. Then you don't have to be pushed into one direction just by using always the pet swap trait. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that's a good idea to fix a little bit of the damage of Soul Beast. Yeah, I think that's what I said. I think a Soul Beast that is able to do a really big burst and then deal a little bit less damage in the end than another class that takes way longer to ramp up. Sorry. So for example, a Chronomancer. There is a power Chronomancer build out there. No one plays that. Just power without any boons attached to it. If that build would be the highest DPS build in the game, I would be happy because it takes a long time to ramp up. And I think that's a really cool idea that you make builds that are just long lasting, but in the end a better DPS than a build like Soul Beast that does a lot of burst damage. And I think that would make a lot of sense. But currently the balancing is more like, oh, this build does 45k DPS. Let's nerf it a bit. And I think that's not really a good thing. You should balance the builds around stuff that they provide. For example, a ranged build should always be less DPS in the end than a melee build. Just because you have the advantage of also dealing damage from range. I think that makes sense. Yeah, maybe I have to do that video. That would be really interesting. But to be honest, if I would pick 2 classes that I play the least, just in general, over all game modes, I have to be honest, it would probably be Engineer and Ranger. Just because I'm not really interested in their playstyle that much. Don't get me wrong, I play every class, but when I had to choose which classes I would play less often, then it would be Engineer and maybe Ranger. Which is sad to all the Engineer mains and Ranger mains out there, but that's why I'm not that experienced at the AI and can talk about it that much, because I just don't have that many hours on them. Probably still than a lot of you because I played the game so much, but yeah. Yeah, I think the AI in Guild Wars 2 is generally really bad when it comes to responses. You press the return button and it takes them ages to go to you, or sometimes you press attack and they attack, and then you want them to attack a different target and they just don't do it. It's really annoying, and they get stuck in animations. It's just annoying. It doesn't work out in the end most of the time as you wanted to. I don't know. I really hope the next balance patch is not only a numbers change, but also maybe some reworks. And I think Soul Beast is definitely, at least the stances in my opinion, could get a big rework, because the stances are quite potent in PvP, but in PvE they are completely useless, or most of them. Only the on Wolfpack is really good. And I think it would be really interesting if you could go for some kind of hybrid damage build that does a lot of burst damage, and after that it mainly carries your group by having some stance share that helps your group, for example, with endurance regeneration, or maybe even give stability as a DPS build. I think that would be really cool. Then it doesn't have to be the really big numbers DPS in the end. You have the highest burst, but then you drop off quite significantly, but you can carry with your utility. I think that's really, really cool. Yeah, and that's definitely the case there with the stance swap. I think the stances, either you swap the traits where they are positioned, for example, that the stance share trait is in a different spot, so that you could take both of them, or better even would be just make the pet swap while you are merged baseline. That would be my preferred choice, because that would make also Soul Beast somewhat, just in general better for every single playstyle that you have. But I guess it's up to them. I can't really decide what they will do. So I will give you 5 more minutes for the giveaway. Exclamation mark ticket in the chat. You have to be a follower to win. Subscribers get double the luck. 100 gold. So don't miss out on that. But I think when it comes to class design in PvE, I have to be honest, the balance is in quite a decent spot. I think there were not a lot of times in the history of Guild Wars 2 where the PvE balance was better than now. I would say never, maybe even. So yeah, it's my take. Yeah, welcome, Bertram, welcome. Hope you enjoy all my new videos. For all the people that have not seen it, my new video is out about the classes. I put a lot of effort into this, so be sure to check it out if you're interested in trying a new class or even getting new in the game and you want to know which class you should play. Yeah, I think that's the only reason why I think ArenaNet is struggling a lot. Because they always try to make builds work they have in mind. For example, a good example of that, I always bring it up, is they really wanted to push Virtuoso to make Condi damage, power damage, and some kind of tanky spec. But why would you do that? Why would you not just make Virtuoso a Condi spec or a power spec without the other damage option? Because then the traits would have been way more. You could have this more design space, because now in the Soul Beast you have the same thing. If you want to go for damage, you have to take this trait. If you want to go for support, you have to take the other one. So you can't make a somewhat supportish damage build. And that's the same, for example, for Virtuoso. If you play Condi, you have to take the Condi traits. There is no other way. And I think that's a little bit boring in the design perspective. So I really hope that they somewhat make it more interesting again, so that you have to just decide which traits are really interesting to take. A good example here is actually Elementalist. When it comes to Tempest, all those 3 traits are actually quite decent. The bottom 2 are actually really good for support. And that's why, in my opinion, that's the ideal choice, that you have a class that is designed around 1 or maybe 2 things that they can do in the lead spec. So Tempest can either deal power damage or it can deal support. It's not true, it also can play a Condi build, but in the end, you have to make a decision for the support if you want to play a little bit more selfish or if you want to go support. But for most elite specs, it's more like, okay, you're playing Condi, you have to take those traits. You're playing power, you have to take those traits. And I think that's not something that is really interesting. Ah yeah, sorry, it's only Twitch. Yeah, it's only on Twitch, the giveaway. We will do a YouTube giveaway soon, don't worry. Nice. Yeah, let's see. If you win, then I'm happy to invest it, yeah? I got that gifted by one of our fellow SGC members, and I was set to give it away, the gold that I got. So that's why we have a giveaway today. But don't worry, even if you don't win the giveaway, we will do more giveaways in the future. I have way more planned. But like I said, I really hope for some reworks for at least some trades, but also maybe some complete elite specs. So I think Weaver needs a really big look at, because I think it's in all game modes not working that well. And I really hope that they find a way to make it work and be really interesting and still have the same dynamic, the same class design. So for example, one of my favorite traits in the game is the Scepter trait of Necromancer. So the one that gives you Condi damage and alters your Scepter skill. I think that's one of the best traits in the game because it changes how you play a weapon. And I think that's really, really cool. I really hope they do that more often because that makes the game so much deeper, in my opinion. So you have to go for a trait line to make the weapon really, really good. But you can use the weapon without it as well. It's just a different playstyle. And I think that's really cool. It's not forcing you to take a trait line, but you can benefit from that. Of course, it has to be an alteration that makes sense, and it's also not too overpowered, because otherwise you would never use the weapon without it. But if they can make that work for some other weapons and other classes, I think that's a really good thing. For sure. It's quite a stalemate here. So as soon as this is resolved, I will draw the giveaway winner. Nice. Then welcome to the Twitch stream. Don't forget, you have to be a follower to win, and write exclamation mark ticket in the chat to enter the giveaway. But don't get me started on the amulets in PvP. I have such hot takes on that. There was a time when there were 20 amulets in the game or something like that. And then they started removing them. And ever since they did that, I have the feeling the meta did not really change that much. Or it changed, but didn't improve in that sense, because there was always some kind of obnoxious build that you could play. And in my opinion, they should rather make more builds viable by having more different amulets that work than remove all of them to only play Berserker amulet. Because that's currently, you play Berserker, you play Sage, or you play the Avatar one. That's it. In most builds, at least. I think that's really bad. I think it would be way cooler if you had different builds viable, different playstyles. Of course, you had to make it a little bit more balanced, and you can't always maybe go for the same amount of stats that you get just because it would be broken. I get that. But I think just from a build crafting perspective, I would go for more amulet. I totally agree with you. Celestial in PvP would be really annoying. But you could balance it that the stats are way lower. That the amount of stats you get for every single attribute could be way lower. And then it might work for a small amount of builds, but that's it. I think, why not? You know, there could be one season, let's say 2 months, where they just try it. To bring back maybe 10 more amulets and make them really interesting. Maybe change all of the amount of stats that they give, depending on how broken they might seem. Yes, that could be a little bit harder for new people to get into, but it would make the gameplay way more interesting, in my opinion. The build crafting, at least. Okay, I think we now resolved the fight. I will port back to spawn and do the giveaway. I mean, back in the day, they did really, really hard. There were times back in the ESL days when Guild Wars 2 had a really big, not really big, but they had an esport scene where you really could make money from playing Guild Wars 2 PvP. There were 5 Celestial builds in every team. That was back in the day. Definitely. Okay, now it's time. Hope you all entered the giveaway. And you have quite good chances. And yeah, let's see. And the winner is Kleckdong. Kleckdong. I hope you are still here. Please let me know your... Yeah, you're here. Perfect. Let me know your account name in chat. Congrats. I will instantly send you the 100 gold. And don't worry guys, tomorrow I will stream again. We will do another giveaway. Thanks, applause, applause. Yes, yes. And we will do more giveaways in the future, not only tomorrow. Congrats again. And yeah, let's quickly close the giveaway. Yep, that's it for today. And like I said, we will do more giveaways in the future. Tomorrow will be the next one. And thanks again for HQ for the, yeah, just the sponsorship here and the prize pool that I have to give away. Yeah, but I think, for example, there was a time in PvP where you could use, for example, there were expertise amulets in the game. And it made, for example, a lot of necromancer builds quite decent. Yeah, example would be Scourge back in the day when it came out with POF. It was really, really good. It was way too overpowered, especially in just in conjunction with Firebrand support. Yes, I know that. But I think making builds more interesting by saying, okay, a build that deals a lot of conditions that get value from playing expertise because they get more condition duration, I think makes the build crafting process way more interesting. Because nowadays it's like, okay, so you play a condition build and you go for Carrion. But there is currently only one build that actually works with Carrion, I would say somewhat decently. All the other builds are either not that good or just baseline not working at all. And then if you're playing a power build, you go for Berserker. That's it. And I think that's just boring. I think it would be way more interesting if you would say, okay, so there is an amulet that gives you a little bit of healing power as well. For example, Heretic. You know, Heretic is a good amulet. I'm happy that it exists. Not a lot of builds actually can make use out of that. But that's just because the meta is so bursty, because you, in ranked at least, oftentimes you die before you can get value of Heretic. The only class that really can get value from Heretic is, yeah, Dagger Catalyst. That's the only one. So, yeah. It's just my take. In my opinion, I'm always more happy about changes to anything than having all the same all the time. But that might just be me. I know a lot of people like having the same stuff and play it all the time, but I think for competitive modes it's really important that you have changes so that people are interested in it and not just lose the interest because there's Willbender for years. And it's like that currently. Yeah, but what can you do? I don't know. I don't actually expect the Arena to add more amulets, or I also don't expect them to really invest a lot more effort into PvP. I think they have accepted that PvP is not worth saving, or at least not, they can't really save it right now. Which is sad because I really enjoy the game mode, but I think it's just how it is. You know, it's really important if you play Guild Wars 2 right now, especially as a veteran, that you accept the game for what it is. You will never have a really big raiding scene in Guild Wars 2. You will never have a really big competitive PvP scene anymore. That's just too late for that. But yeah, that's just how it is. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting take that I had in my balance video that I made months ago, where I talked about that I think that it's really a big problem in PvP, but also in World versus World to an extent as well, that you have either a really bursty meta for example, for, let's say, less skilled people. A lot of people play Willbender and get farmed, for example, by Mirages or just Mesmers in general this spear, because it's so high damage. And then the top end, if you look at the monthly ATs, they played double support with a side-noting bunker and some hybrid builds that roam around. Maybe one Willbender in there. So it's the total opposite. It's really bunkery. Sometimes there are matches that take 10 minutes and there was not a single kill until 10 minutes. And in ranked, you have sometimes, like you saw previously, if you were here already in this stream, we had a Willbender that died in, I'm not joking, in 3 seconds in our team, even though he had an invulnerability that lasted 3 seconds. I don't know how he did it. So it's a big discrepancy. And I think that's a new player has a big problem to deal with those bursty, really bursty ranked matches, because they just die and they won't improve because of that. They don't see what they did wrong because they just died and so fast they can't really just understand what happened to them. So I really would like to see that the meta goes to a more, not bunker style, don't get me wrong, but a slower meta. That you have a place for a side-noting build, maybe even a teamfight build, that takes maybe, instead of 1 second to kill, maybe 5 seconds to kill. If you really focus it hard. Maybe even 10 seconds. So that the build up for the new player is easier to understand. Oh, I'm losing my HP, I have to do something about it. And not, I'm full life and then the next seconds I'm in downstat or even completely dead because it's too bursty. So I think, in my opinion, it's really important that they address this issue to get more new people into PvP. But, and that's the big but, I think it's too late for that. I think not a lot of people are actually playing Guild Wars 2 to play PvP. There are some people that play Guild Wars 2 and try PvP and find it fun, yes. But the big amount of people join PvP, never in the game. Yeah, I think that's the thing that I wanted to get off my chest. Yeah. For example, I really think that a side-noting build should exist, and it should not, by design, not really run Berserker. Because I think the Berserker amulet is made for a team fighter, for someone or a roamer that is really squishy and needs a lot of damage to work. But on a side note, you should be forced to play something more tanky to make your build work if you get outnumbered for a second. I think that there should be some inherent understanding of which amulets are made for which class or which role. But nowadays it feels like the amulet doesn't really matter. You take the amulet that you want and the traits and the skills is the only thing that matters, that defines your build. Because almost everyone plays the same amulets. Yeah, I think it's true that there might be power builds on side note might be way more interesting, especially when it comes to warrior and ranger. I agree with that, but you can't really force the meta in a power direction or a condi direction just from the side note alone. I think it always has to be the full package, because if you can't deal with trade with the condition damage, for example, from a roamer that outnumbers you or something, then you will never play a power warrior, because you need the defense trade line, for example, for that to get condi cleanses off or something. Just an example. Of course, you can play a power warrior with defense right now, but in my opinion, it should be something like a rock paper scissors scenario, where you have a build that is really good against another build, but the other build is really weak against another build, so that you always have some kind of build that is really good against you and another build that is really bad against you, and you have always a decision to make when you face someone. Should I push into this 1-on-1, or is it a losing matchup? I should not push in there. I think that's really something that is not existing in Guild Wars 2 right now, because most of the time you just have a side noder that is playing the game, and if it's against another good side noder, most of the time the duel doesn't resolve without an outnumber. And that's just boring, in my opinion. It's also for roaming. When you regard roaming, a lot of roaming is nowadays Celestial or Trailblazer, or even some small scale, maybe 5-person party or something like that. And that's just really annoying, because that makes either you die in a second or the fight does not resolve at all. And that's a big problem because of just how obnoxious tanky builds can become and how much damage bursty builds can do. So you either go for a full tank to survive the burst, or you go for a full offensive build and try to outburst the other bursty build. So it's a really weird balanced direction they are currently having, definitely. Thanks for the follow, Rompenstein. Welcome to the stream. But yeah, I think it's people always complain about the balance. And one thing I want to really mention is that I think they are doing a really good job when it comes to PvE balance. I think the balance in PvE is really good. You have classes that are a little bit worse than other classes, but all classes have a build for every single elite spec that is working and is actually quite decent. And almost every class can play every role without that much of trouble. And I think that's how it should be. PvE is a game mode where you don't have to have really, really crazy changes in the classes, because if they work at one point, why not let them like this? And I think that's really good. I'm really happy about that. Yeah, definitely. I think that's one big reason, Cyclone, why they did actually not go for more elite specs with the new expansions. Of course, they are doing more expansions nowadays, so it would be even harder. But even if they would do expansions every 2 years now, they would probably have trouble going for more elite specs and more weapons with every single expansion, because that would mean more balancing, and also more balancing regarding the let's say the retrograde direction, so that you have to take into account, okay, you have a Tempest, and how does a Tempest work with a new weapon? How does a Tempest compare or goes against a new elite spec for Elementalist that does somewhat the same job? So it's really hard to balance if you release new trade lines, new weapons all the time. So I think they will also get the same problem with new weapons if they release new weapons for every class, every expansion. I think they get the same problem. Because either you will have a power creep, like we mentioned earlier, that you will always go for the newest weapon because it has to be the best weapon, otherwise people won't buy the expansion. Or you have a really well-balanced game, but you get more weapons all the time, which just makes it more confusing for new players to get into. So I totally get that. And I think I'm with you there. I think Guild Wars 2 covers so many different fantasies that new specs are not really necessary if you would rework trade lines from underused specs. I think that's a big condition there. Because if you don't do that, it feels like some specs are supposed to work worse than others, because they are just not that up to date right now. Yeah, in my opinion at least. But yeah, let's see how they fix that, because they actually said in one of the somewhat recent interviews, Crouch said there will be big combat influencing changes with each expec. So even the new expansions that don't deliver new classes or new elite specs will get something like spear for all weapons, for all classes. something like that will happen for each expansion. And that's really interesting because that means they have something else planned as well. I'm not sure what it is, but I think Relics changed it quite a bit as well with Soto. So I think if they do something like that as well, maybe they can make it worth that they don't release new elite specs, but make something that is similarly interesting. I hope so, definitely. Yeah, but I actually don't know what will come out with the new expansions. So I think it's interesting. We will probably get a new expansion in August or maybe early September or something like that. Just when the last two expansions that on the yearly cycle released. And I'm not sure when they did announce the last one, but I think it will be soonish when they will release new information, that it will come out, how it will look like, what it will maybe do, what we will do, what the developers have in mind. I don't know when that will happen, but I think it will be quite soonish. I'm really hyped for that announcement, because if that expansion is somewhat decent, I think Guild Wars 2 will definitely survive until they put out the new game. But if the next expansion, especially with the new upcoming patches, is not working out well, I think Guild Wars 2 is definitely on the downward trend when it comes to population, at least. And I'm not only talking about PvP, because that's definitely true. I'm talking about the other game modes as well. Yeah, I think ArenaNet was never a really good company when it comes to longevity of their content. I think the first time they did a good job with longevity was with EOD, when it came to the Arena variants, because they forced people that enjoyed going for legendaries to do content for months. And when it comes to the new expansion, I think the new Spear, they had some great ideas when it comes, for example, to the hard quests that you have to do to get the items, but in the end that you get all the skins at once, that's just a stupid decision. I totally agree. I think it's not, you just get them unlocked when you get the Spear, and that's just boring. Why not make that you go for, if it's not a journey because they can't put a lot of effort into that, okay, but maybe put a more gameplay in there, so that you have to do more than meta events, so that you have to do the hearts even more, so that people have to grind something to stick longer in the game. I think that would be really cool, just to make the game a little bit more exciting, because now it feels like the new updates, at least for me, it's more like, okay, the update happens and then you have 1 week most of the time. For me, as a somewhat regular player, where I get new content, and after that I'm done. There is nothing more for me to do. I'm going back to PvP and World vs. World. Or at least the old stuff, maybe Fractals as well, or Dungeons or something. But not something new. And that's quite sad. Why? The thing when they did it as well was, for example, the Soto Rifts. Not a lot of people actually really enjoyed Rifts, I get that. But at least there was some longevity in that. Yeah, and definitely that's also a good point. It's not only about the longevity itself, but it's also about just the prestige that the item has. Because it's way more prestigious for you, or more interesting to go for, if you have something that just is cool to show because you've put a lot of effort in. Now you have these variants and they are just, you can easily have bought them from the TP, and that's it. Yeah, I think rifts were a good way to integrate the grind into old maps as well, so that it feels more alive. I definitely agree to that. But I don't know. I hope they come up with a feature like that in the new updates, or at least in the new expansion. I really hope for that. And I also think it's really important that they put the new expansion with a new legendary or something, so that you have the grind directly on day one and not have to wait 3 months for that. I think that was a big mistake as well. Because if you want to, for example, if you take a week off or something, the latest expansion was more like, okay, I got some maps, and after I did it, explore the maps, that's it. You could go for some achievements, but there's nothing to go for after that. I think it's really important that you have something to grind after you go and explore the maps. Yeah, I think the live events are also a really good way to interact with the people, for sure. I really hope they do that in the future as well. Also, before the expansion, it would be really cool if they could hype up and say every single time, every week, or maybe every second day or something, they did it with Heart of Thorns or something. They release a new trailer to the new Elite spec. That was so cool. It was so hype. A lot of people were hyped for Heart of Thorns for months. It was crazy. Yeah. For sure, for sure. Yeah, so I think that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Thanks a lot for all the follows. Be sure to follow, subscribe, you know the drill. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice evening, and I hope to see you tomorrow. We will do more giveaways and hopefully more nice discussions. So thank you all. And like I said, good night. See you.
Gaming, thank you very much for the ring. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you very much. Hope you had a good spring. Oh yeah. Bubble 3, 2, 1, bubble.